Good morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Taylor Kanost with meteorologist Brandon Lawrence, and we have a little snow to talk about heading our way on Friday, and this likely is going to be the biggest one we've had so far this season.
Yeah, so there is a winter storm watch already out. It technically begins at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, but it's there. It was issued yesterday. I imagine at any point it will be upgraded for the majority of the state, probably not everybody, but the majority of the state, to a winter storm warning.
Yeah, or at the very least a winter weather advisory for everyone that's in this watch. We already have the winter storm warning for several counties in northwest Iowa. That's just a different weather office that issued that earlier this morning, and that will again likely be extended farther south and east at some point, either late this morning or later on this afternoon.
So again, it starts at 9 a.m. tomorrow. It technically goes until 6 a.m. Saturday. I don't get caught up in the specific times. It's for tomorrow and for tomorrow night. So that's essentially covering what we're going to see. The big question that everybody always has when it comes to a snow event is, A, what time is it coming in? What time will it be done? And then, of course, how much are we going to get? So let's walk through the futurecast here, and we're going to kind of skip over today because today's a pretty quiet day. This starts at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. And Taylor, that's when it begins.
Yeah, for at least northwest Iowa. So this, peak rush hour time, 7, 8 o'clock, probably going to be dry for us in Des Moines, maybe even Ames. So if you have some last second errands to get done early on Friday, you're probably going to be okay for those locations, and especially southern Iowa, probably going to be dry initially. But northwest Iowa, by 6, 7 o'clock in the morning on Friday, snow will be underway for some of those locations. It might be closer to maybe 8 or 9 o'clock once you get to Fort Dodge and Ames. But as we roll this on through the morning, it's quickly going to fill in. So here's your freeze frame at 10 o'clock in the morning on Friday, and that's probably about the time we'll see the snow begin in Des Moines, is maybe 9 or 10 o'clock on Friday morning. It looks like the model literally just updated
just
there.
Updated, which this may be a little bit too far forward. So I still think that 10 a.m. time frame is probably good for the Des Moines Metro. That seems a little bit early for many of these areas, especially because sometimes when we get these snow events, they tend to take a little bit to get going. Once they get going, they're in full force, but sometimes you have to overcome a little bit of dry air. Sometimes it melts initially.
Yeah, we're not going to be overcoming as much dry air as the New Year's Day storm. If you recall, that was one of the reasons the totals weren't quite as high with that system. This is very different. It's a warmer, more moist system here in atmosphere that we'll be working with. So shouldn't take as long to get going as it did last time. And once it starts, it's not going to stop for a while.
Right. So watch what happens all through the day. I do want to point out, far southwest Iowa, we're still watching that there could be a bit of a mixed bag there. Most of that's outside of our area. I think that generally our area is going to be just all snow, and the darker the blue, the heavier it's going to be. We are all going to see some pretty heavy snow at some point. And again, pay attention to the time. This is at noon tomorrow, right in the middle of the day. It will be going very heavily, and it will stay that way through 5 p.m. The evening commute, we have not been mincing words, is not going to be good. I'm hoping that the evening commute tomorrow is less commutey than what we would normally see.
Everyone we've talked to has said they're getting off work early on Friday, and I think that's a wise thing to do. I would be pretty stunned if there are not at least early dismissals, if not cancellations for school altogether on Friday due to what's coming our way.
So this is at 11 o'clock tomorrow night. It's still snowing for a good chunk of the area. It's going to finally stop snowing farther to the north, gradually end as it goes down to the south, but there's many areas that could see snow for upwards of 12 hours straight before it comes to an end. Then this rolls through 6 a.m. on Saturday, and for the most part, the snow is over. Sometimes on the back end of these, we get some leftover little light snow showers or flurries, but it wouldn't be anything that really adds to the accumulation.
Yeah, so if you're wondering when you can shovel, Saturday morning probably.
But take note of the temps too on Saturday morning because, it's been, 53 yesterday? Teens when you wake up. So it's going to be colder for sure, and it's not going to warm up a lot on Saturday. So here's the thing that everybody wants to see. How much are we going to get? And I just want to put out there, this is not the New Year's Day storm. It's a totally different setup. I'm not claiming to be perfect. Taylor's not claiming to be perfect. Will we get one of these a little wrong or a couple of them? It's quite possible. Nobody claims to be perfect with this, but based on all the data, our confidence in these higher totals is pretty good. It's pretty high up there.
Yeah, there's a very good model agreement and has been for the past few days. There's been some minor shifts here and there, but really since Tuesday, we've been pretty confident that central Iowa is in the bullseye here for the heaviest of the snow. Far western Iowa, far eastern Iowa, probably not going to get as much. But this, all signals point to this really just slamming central Iowa.
And
Friday night.
We often talk about shifts, right? And that any shift in the track of the storm system could affect the totals. A shift with this type of storm might adjust the totals a little bit farther to the east and a little bit farther to the west, but it would have to be a massive shift for the middle part of this, which includes right through Des Moines and Ames, to just dramatically change these totals.
Yeah, with the New Year's Day storm we were on that very sharp cutoff between the heavy and the light stuff right in Des Moines, so that was a big concern as to our forecast totals. But we have a lot of wiggle room here for maybe the track to be a little bit different from what the models are saying. So, I really think 5 inches is a slam dunk for Des Moines, a bare minimum, and a very good chance we'll see 7 to upwards of 10 inches.
So here's a bit of a closer view specifically on the region that we cover. If I had to point out a section of the area that I'm probably less confident about, or my least level of confidence, it's that far western side. Atlantic, Audubon, down through, let's say, Corning and down into Taylor County. That is kind of where that cutoff will be. Not super sharp, but it would be less snow for sure.
So this area right here could see rain or that wintry mix even all the way through the mid-afternoon, maybe even late afternoon on Friday. So if that does take place in Cass County, down toward Adams County and Taylor County, that would knock off the total. So that's why we have the widest range for Atlantic, anywhere from 4 to 9. But again, we will likely just see strictly snow in the majority of our area. So everyone has, except for Atlantic, has a bare minimum of 5 inches in the forecast.
And I do want to stress another point here, because this has been a chatter recently with social media. When we have a range here, a lot of people tend to latch on to that second number. So you see 7 to 10 in Des Moines and everybody says, oh, they said 10 or they said 11. No, we didn't. We said 7 to 10. And the reason that we give a range is because it would be impossible to forecast a set amount. We all have seen that situation where your neighbor across the street can have a little bit of different accumulation compared to what you get. Of course, there's always drifting that we have to watch for, but just because snow doesn't fall very evenly, there's different bands that set up that are heavier and some that are lighter. So that's why we give a range. There are always scenarios where one part of the city of Des Moines or one part of the metro may have a totally different total than another part.
But what's the difference between 7 and 10 inches? The impacts are going to be the same virtually, right?
You'll be shoveling and snow blowing one way or the other. All right, this is the most zoomed in view of kind of the Des Moines metro and areas immediately surrounding us. Not a lot of difference from the other map that we showed you, but again, right through the heart of our area, pretty widespread 7 to 10 inches. Like you said, 5 inches is like a slam dunk. 6 is extremely likely, and then as you get higher, it's like, yeah, it's pretty likely. I don't know that we will see a lot of areas getting 10 or higher, although I won't rule it out.
Yeah, I would say someone probably gets it, but will that be widespread? Maybe not necessarily.
Right.
But as you can see, areas near and just to the west of Des Moines probably have the best chance at the heaviest of the snow. So that's why we have the 7 to 10 range from Winterset up to Boone and including Polk County as well. You get a little bit farther east of there, might not be quite as high, but it's going to be close. And so we have 5 to 8 inches for Marshalltown and 6 to 9 inches for Ames down to Newton, Pella, and Knoxville. One thing for the east side of this storm system, they're going to be dealing with that dry air that we mentioned likely won't be an issue for us in central Iowa, but in eastern Iowa, that might cut off the totals there just a little bit, and that potentially could affect maybe our eastern counties just a smidge, so that's why it's slightly lower out there.
So it should be pretty obvious by this point that travel is not going to be great. It will be okay in the morning. In fact, I have it labeled as good because I think in the Des Moines metro, the commute to work, to school, should there be school, will be fine.
Yeah.
Lunchtime, though, it quickly goes downhill. The evening is the worst. Saturday morning is not good. Even though the snow will be over, we all know that not everything will be plowed yet. It takes a long time to get to. So Saturday morning won't be great. And then gradually through the day, Saturday, it will improve, but I still don't think it'll ever be good during the day Saturday.
Yeah, it'll be those snow-packed roads. They're going to be there. It's not going to melt away. We might have a little sun a little bit on Saturday, but with it being temperatures in the teens throughout most of the day Saturday, not much, if any melting at all, is going to occur. So whatever the plows can clear, whatever's left behind that is going to be on the roads for a while.
So there you go. It's not recommended that you travel. As far as if you need to go out, run errands, travel, and you're wondering when, all day today you'll be just fine. So if you're watching this and thinking, hey, I need to run, this is not the cliche like run to the grocery store, but I mean genuinely, if you need to run to the grocery store.
If you really want to make French toast, get your bread and milk. I've never gotten that, by the way. Why is it bread and milk specifically? Yeah. I'm getting potato chips.
We have way too much bread at my house anyway. Like if somehow we wound up with like 3 loaves. So yes, today is fine to do whatever you need to do. Tomorrow morning, it's okay. It's not great.
As time goes on, it's going to get worse.
It's the better part of the day if we have to pick one. Yeah. Tomorrow night, no. And then on Saturday, if you have to travel, yes, you'll be able to do it. Will it be great? Probably not. But the other thing with this is, what makes this so much different than the New Year's Day storm is that was really light snow, really fluffy. We had a little bit stronger winds, so blowing snow, drifting snow was a bit more of a concern. This is going to be a lot wetter, a lot heavier snow, which is better for making snowballs,
yes,
building snowmen, snow women, that type of thing. It's not better for shoveling, snow blowing. It's not as fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a workout if you have to shovel, no doubt about that. I mean, it's probably going to be twice as heavy, if not more, than it was on New Year's Day. So
skip the gym,
plan accordingly,
go outside and shovel, and you'll get that workout for sure. So this is kind of what Taylor was mentioning, and this is the final thing we really have to show, is what could change. Essentially, we know that snow forecasts are not perfect. I always say, to me, snow totals are one of the most challenging things a meteorologist will ever forecast. It's hard. What could change with this? If we get warmer air in western Iowa, that's more so in the mid or upper levels of the atmosphere, it could affect totals. And when I say it could affect them, it could cause them to go down a little bit.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the dry air.
The dry air on eastern Iowa, as I mentioned, it could cut off the totals, especially for the eastern third of the state, much like it did on New Year's Day. That could be a possibility out in eastern Iowa as well. That could knock down those totals in eastern Iowa. So far western Iowa, far eastern Iowa, the totals could be lower than what we are forecasting right now. Central Iowa, barring some extreme shift at the last second in the track, I mean, we're looking at a big snowstorm here.
Yeah, it's kind of that rare situation where it goes right down the middle of the state.
Yeah.
That's not very common. Most of the time, it's like the north end, the southern end, the west, or the east. This time around, it's like, well, the middle part of the state is getting it. The western side, the eastern side, probably getting it, but that might be affected a little bit. Yeah. So we always like to be as transparent as possible in saying, yeah, we know that there's that warmer air potential. We know that dry air may have some sort of impact on this. That's also why we really focus our forecast in on our specific area. I understand there's a lot of people who watch and want information on the Quad Cities and Cedar Rapids and Dubuque and Council Bluffs. There are some wonderful meteorologists who work in those areas who can give you probably a little bit better information than we can.
Yeah, so we don't want to step on their toes.
Right. We focus on the area that we cover, Des Moines Metro, Ames, up to Fort Dodge, down to the Missouri border. So I think we've covered a lot.
Yeah, it's going to snow a lot.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Let me just check to see a couple of questions that people may have. Oh, this is a good one that we haven't really addressed. What is the wind speed and gusts through the day?
Yeah, it's going to be breezy, 10 to 20 miles per hour, maybe occasional gusts up to 30. So I've been thinking that isolated blowing snow, isolated drifting snow is possible, especially in rural areas. Is it going to be like it was on January 1st? Not even close.
Yeah.
Especially since this is a wetter, heavier snow, that tends to stick to the ground a little bit easier than that fluffier snow. So I do not expect that to be a widespread issue. It could affect the visibility a little bit if you have to be traveling while it's snowing. But
even the snow itself will be heavy enough that
that will be an issue in the first place.
Be great.
Yeah.
I would say the strongest wind will be by the evening and late night. That's kind of when it picks up. During the day, yeah, there's a little bit of a breeze, but it's nothing too significant there. Where did my comments go? Okay, let's see. Just checking to see. Any other questions? What time will it start? Again, generally around 10 a.m., I think, for the Des Moines Metro, give or take a half hour, 45 minutes.
Yep. Earlier to the north and west, later to the south and east.
Yeah. So if you live in Ottumwa or Oskaloosa, it's going to take longer to get there. So don't walk outside at 8 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, where's all that snow? It's not supposed to be there yet.
Yeah.
So Barbie said in Ottumwa, just snow, no ice. Yes.
Yeah.
No ice expected tomorrow. Of course, keep in mind that once the snow is over and it starts to compact by the weekend, then we could have some icing concerns with it, but not immediately tomorrow.
No freezing drizzle, no icing from the actual storm itself.
Let's see. Gage said, do we think Ames will be added in the winter storm warning?
Yeah.
I think so. I don't like to speak for the Weather Service, but I believe that yes. Diane says she's got her trusty ruler.
Excellent. Yeah, if you can send us reports, that's the only way we get these snow totals when the storm is done, other than from the airports across central Iowa. So we rely on people to send us the reports to let us know how bad it is out there. So if you can, when the storm is done, measure that for us, we'd appreciate it.
And it seems obvious, but people ask me a lot, how do I measure the snow? Find a ruler, find a yardstick. Most people have one in their garage or somewhere at home. Literally stick it in the ground, find a fairly flat surface.
So I typically try to do the sidewalk because it's a flat area and you want it to be away from trees or a building, so that's not affecting how much is actually reaching the ground. So an open area, flat surface like a sidewalk, or maybe if you have a table outside, a patio table or something like that.
Yeah, patio tables are great. Something that hasn't been disturbed either. You know, if you like sometimes want to do the sidewalk, but then you see that like dogs or people have walked through it a lot, probably not a good idea to measure there because now that total is adjusted.
The best way to do it is you want to measure a few spots and get the average of those few measurements you get. Yeah.
But that's the way to do it. Then you can email it to us, tweet at us, put it on Facebook. Whatever you do, we can relay it to the National Weather Service and certainly relay it on air as well. So with that, Taylor's got to go get ready for the 11 a.m. newscast. I am going to go get a few more things accomplished ahead of tomorrow, and we will have full team coverage tomorrow on this winter storm. We know how to do this. We live in Iowa. This is not the first time, and it will not be the last time, but just be careful, be prepared, and you'll be A-okay.
What do you think? Snow day all day tomorrow for the kids in Des Moines?
I don't get paid. No. School decisions are out of my hands.
I'm saying yes, it's going to happen. Long extended weekend.
Well, yeah, because they're off Monday too.
Yeah, so.
I want a long extended weekend.
Sorry, buddy, you got to work. All right,
everybody. Stay safe. Have a good day.